This is a live stream that we're hosting today, breaking down all the new releases. But again, we're going to show and highlight all the films I saw for the previous month of November, and I'm going to rank them from best to worst and have a good time with that. So if you all are watching this live and watching the replay, do your boy a favor. Let me know what new movies did you see in the month of November. How would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or A to D, as well as how would you rank those films as well. So definitely do that for me on the live chat and those watching on the replay. And again, those watching the replay, share, thumbs up, comment, do all that good stuff. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. So with all that being said, I have seen, what did I see? 1, 2, 3, 13? Is that 13 films, I think, that I watched last month, which, was a solid month. Of course, if you all know, this has been part of this channel, I watch a lot of TV shows too. So 13 films plus TV shows. And then I was fortunate enough to get some pretty cool. Let me make myself bigger here. Let me take this down for a second, or can I make? Oh, there we go. I was lucky enough to. I'm part of the press out here in my local area, and they're sending out the press releases. I don't know if you guys can see that well. It's a lot of movies here. It's a lot of movies. So I got a lot of films that I saw last month, and a lot that I still have to watch that I didn't get a chance to see in theater. So I'll be watching movies here in the next few weeks, but I did get a chance to see 13 new releases, and we're going to talk about them, and we're going to rank them. So let's see. And also, too, just a friendly reminder, all these films that I'm going to be going over, there are either reviews that are on the channel now in short form or long form content that you can see my full thoughts, pros, cons, and all that stuff on my YouTube channel. And then there's 1 or 2 that I have seen that I am in the process of editing a review for it, or there's an embargo, so I might not be able to elaborate on some of them. There's like 2 of them that I can't really dive into because there's an embargo for. But with all that being said, let's go and start off with our first one here, which I saw at the beginning of the month of November, was Enola Holmes 2. And again, you can see my review on that film, but unfortunately, I'm going to put it at C. I think I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 for my ranking. I thought, Enola's a fun character. I love Millie Bobby Brown. I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill, and they have a lot of good banter in this one. They give him a lot more to do in the Sherlock role. But the mystery in this one wasn't for me. The romance still is just kind of a throw on add-on that I'm just not a fan of. And nothing against the actors. I just don't think that particular plot and that element of the story is all that fleshed out for me. So, and also too, the second half really drags, man. And like I said, the biggest thing is I love the mystery from the first one of solving the mystery, but the mystery in the second one was just a little lackadaisical for me. So again, you can check out my review on the film, but I'm going to put it at a C as far as this tier goes. So next on our list was the new Luca Guadagnino drama road trip cannibal film by the name of Bones and All. I saw that a couple weeks ago, and I believe it's now available to a wider audience, and it's definitely not for everyone due to the subject matter. It is a pretty dark and gruesome film at points, but it's also a pretty, never put this 2 words together, cannibalism, and a beautiful film. It's a really beautiful film because it is a love story as well. So coming of age story. And I thought that the performances, man, really shine through with this narrative. And also Luca Guadagnino, who's one of my favorite directors, did a great job of really conveying a lot of those different emotions and themes throughout the film. And performance-wise, again, whether it's Taylor Russell, love her, man. If you guys haven't seen A24 Waves, you're missing out on a phenomenal film and a great performance by her. That's my first time being exposed to her. I thought she was great in that film. She was fantastic in this film as our main character, going through what it looks like when you suffer from having the urge to eat people and eating the live flesh, and what that looks like with her and her father and the relationship she just develops over the course of the film. Which brings us into Timothy Chalamet's character, who is someone that who's in the very, the same vein as her, a young individual that's kind of lost his family and lost his ways due to this obsession that they have. And on that journey, they meet some other people that go through the same thing, but they handle it very, very differently. So Bones and All is a really interesting film. Again, it has a lot of good things to offer, but I think there's some shortcomings in some of the development. And it's a little bit long in the tooth for me as far as the runtime, but overall, it was something I definitely recommend it. And I gave it a 3.8 out of 5, which on this scale would be like a B. Again, you can check out my full review on the channel for Bones and All, but something, again, prepare yourself. Don't eat while watching it, or probably don't eat before going into the theater, but it's definitely a film I recommend, and I had a good time with it. Next on the list here is The Fablemans, the new Steven Spielberg 38th film of his filmography. If you ask me, one of the greatest directors to ever do it, if not the greatest. It's a fantastic film. I'm going to go ahead and just put it where I gave it. My score was pretty high. Again, you can see my full thoughts on this film, but man, what a great coming of age story. What a great story about family, and also the themes of chasing greatness, and having this appreciation of arts and what art can do to you, both the positives and negatives. We see that with the main character, who is a filmmaker, and it's loosely based on Steven's life, and what his art and his obsession with art does to him. But also we see the reverse from that with his mother, played beautifully by Michelle Williams, who was fantastic in the movie. She's someone that unfortunately didn't chase her dreams. She became a wife, and she has kids, and she kind of put her career on the back burner, and that kind of has a domino effect of some of the decisions she makes in the film. But definitely a film that will probably get some nominations. I'm talking probably best direction by Steven, probably some nominations from the score from John Williams. I can also see the Academy giving Michelle Williams some appreciation, because she was fantastic. So definitely a film I recommend, and I believe this is out for everyone to see now, but definitely a film that I enjoyed a lot. And you can check out my full reviews on The Fableman, but it's going to go on my A tier for me. So next is, and I saw this very early in November, and that is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. A lot of dialogue around the film. I had a almost 30-minute spoiler-free review, had an hour-long discussion on my channel, giving my pros and my cons and my concerns and issues that I had with the film. And I was fortunate enough to be on a lot of my YouTube buddies and people I consider friends outside of YouTube. I was able to talk on their platforms to show my opinion on the film. So there's a lot of dialogue around it. So I'm not going to spend too much time around it, but I've only seen it once. I still haven't seen it a second time. But again, I think that even with my reservations and some of the decisions they made, I still land a little bit more on the positive than I do on the negative. So I'm going to give that a B. And then this brings us to a film that I saw at the St. Louis International Film Festival, which it also, and this is an inspection, a new A24 film, like a strict embargo, but there is an embargo for us out here. I think I can only talk about it in next week, I believe. So I can't really dive into my thoughts, but let's just, I'm just going to put it where I feel about it. And again, you'll get more thoughts on it pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. But I will say, when it does become available, which I want to say is December 9th. I'll have a review coming pretty soon, but I definitely recommend you all look into it if it's available in your market. The inspection is a really good experience, a really good film about a young man who was kicked out of his home because of his sexuality as a gay man. His mom is played by Gabrielle Union. He decides, because he's on his last, he doesn't have anywhere to live, he's kind of broken at this point in his life. He decides to join the Marines, and of course, being a Black gay man during this time period, which was the "don't ask, no tell" policy was going on through the military. So you can only imagine what he went through that time. It's just a really, again, can't dive too deep into it with embargo, but it's just a really good film, really good character study, really good direction, and just a beautiful story. So definitely keep an eye out for my full review for the inspection coming pretty soon from A24. Armageddon Time. Yes, Armageddon Time. I gave this one I recently reviewed this earlier this week. I gave it a 3 out of 5, I believe. It had some good themes, but they were just a little bit underdeveloped to me. It's a really good, interesting film about a family, a Jewish family during the Reagan administration and all the stuff that went through during that time, which was kind of left on the back burner. But at the heart of the story, it's about it's a coming of age story with a young man who comes across a black kid who he befriends, and they get into, kids get into trouble. But obviously there's a little bit of a racial undertone about, privilege and how the social commentary on classism is displayed in the film. There's a beautiful relationship between Anthony Hawkins and his grandson, who's the main character of the film. It's a really well acted movie. Some great cast members, Jeremy Strong and Anne Hathaway are the parents. Like I mentioned, Anthony Hopkins, who was fantastic, but it just felt a little undercooked. I wish there was more relationship building. I wish it elaborated more on the social commentary about speaking up for those that have a lesser voice than you. So I just feel like it was, all the good intentions were there, but the execution wasn't completely fully developed as much as I wanted to. So it's a film I'll check out. I would recommend. I don't know if it's necessarily worth seeing in the theaters, but I would recommend it. Give it a watch when it's available on streaming. So that was Armageddon Time. Next on my list, man, it was the Guardian special, and I know it's not like a movie, but then it is. Whatever the case may be, I know everyone loved it, man. And I hate to be a Scrooge, but as I said in my review for the film, I'm not the biggest fan of Drax. I think that that character development went out of the door after the first Guardians film, someone that was driven off of passion and hate to take off Thanos for killing his wife and kid. And after that, he just became a joke every time we see him. So no offense to Dave Bautista. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's definitely grown as an actor, but he's just kind of one note for me. And Mantis is kind of the same. She's just a very character that just brings a lot of jokes to it. Now, I would say between the two characters, she had a lot more to do in the special, because I don't want to give too much away, but there's a particular reveal that motivates her to do what she's doing, which is give Peter Quill a Christmas gift in the form of a human, and that was Kevin Bacon. So I appreciated all that, but when you have two similar characters, there's just not enough dynamic stuff going on for me. And when you see characters that are both kind of like in a similar vein, it just wasn't as dynamic as I would have liked to have seen it been. I would have loved to have seen maybe a Drax and Nebula adventure, because they're two different polar opposite characters, right? Or a Rocket and Mantis, because again, they're two different characters, and it allows you to play with these characters and put them into situations, and like makes it a little bit more entertaining and more complex for me. So again, you can check out my review for that, but I wasn't too critical on it, because it is just a 42-minute special, but at the same time, it could have offered a little bit more for me. But I appreciated the themes and in the Christmas spirit that it had to offer, but it just wasn't my favorite cup of tea. So that's that, which brings us to Pinocchio, the new Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I have seen it, reviewed it. I just haven't put it out yet. I'm gonna probably put out a review tomorrow. It's gonna be a short review that I have for it. But man, I'm gonna go ahead and put this up there with the Noble, the Fablemans, man. That film, and again, you'll see my thoughts on Pinocchio. Man, it's a different tale. It's not your grandpa's Pinocchio from the 40s, which is a classic. This is it has the foundation of the story, but it's a much different telling in Dio and Geppetto, and it's very tragic, as you would imagine with Guillermo del Toro. It has very dark moments, but also it is a very heartfelt, loving, very strong nuances and themes of immortality, death, acceptance, a lot of deep stuff in the film, and it's gorgeous. Look at the stop motion animation is fantastic. You're probably looking at the front runner for best animation of the year. It's a beautiful film, y'all, and it comes out December 9th, and we'll go over that when we get to the new releases portion of this video. But highly recommend it. Keep an eye out for my review dropping on Friday tomorrow. Brings us to a film that I'm not going to give too much away, because I literally shot a review for it today and I saw it last night, but that is The Well, which I'm feeling like after seeing it and after shooting my review for it, which will be, I think the embargo is already, they showed it at the International Film Festivals, Venice. So there isn't like an embargo to that extent, but we've given embargo instructions, and I believe I can't talk about it or like fully talk about my review or release my review till I think next week or the week after that. But keep an eye out for that review. It's a pretty long review, actually, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about with that film, and particularly representation of people that are obese and how the film handles that, and all the different themes that it tackles, and the great performances that we get, and a couple shortcomings that I'll talk about. So keep an eye out from a review, but right now, just give you an idea of where I'm at with that. I put it at a B, but you're going to want to see that review, because I do have some conversations that I talk about in that video. So keep an eye out for that. So then that brings us to Tar. Todd Phil's drama, starring Cate Blanchett, of a individual who's one of the greatest composers of our time in this fictional story, which just speaks to one of the things I thought it was a real story, because it feels so grounded in reality. But Cate Blanchett is Tar, who, like I said, is a great composer. She's approaching the symphony of someone she admired and one of the people she looked up to as a composer, and she's gearing to prepare for this orchestra. And as she's getting closer to that date and really reaching the pinnacle of her career, and really, she's at the peak of her career, but she's about to hit the next level, some things come up in her past. And it's a film about a little bit of cancel culture. It's a film about chasing greatness. It reminds me so much of like Whiplash and Amadeus and a couple other films, and Black Swan. This is a really good film, man. It's dark, it's gritty, it's raw, it's honest. And Cate Blanchett, I'm a big fan of her. I think she's one of the greatest actors of all time, and it shows in this film. And I would not be surprised if she not only gets nominated for Best Performance by a Lead Actress, but I'm pretty sure she's going to win. So with that being said, I speak pretty highly on Tar, and you can check out my review for that. This is on the channel now. So very, very impressed by that film. That next brings us to Marcel the Shell, guys, which is the first S tier film on today's breakdown. Listen, man, film came out early this year. I had heard good things about it, but you know how that goes. Sometimes films get this high praise, and when you finally see, you're like, I didn't really hit those notes for me. But yeah, man, this one stuck the landing, y'all. This is probably one of the most well put together, and it's also animated as well. So a combination of stop motion and live action. Oh man, what a great film, man, about a grief, looking at life. This little character here, Marcel, little 1-inch shell, looking at life, glass half full versus half empty approach. And it's just so beautiful, so emotional, so funny as well. And I wasn't familiar with Marcel. I know back in 2010, they had the little YouTube shorts or YouTube videos they put out. I didn't know about the character. That was my first time being introduced to the character, and beautiful film. Highly recommended if you all haven't seen it. Marcel the Shell. It's like I said, it's on my S list, man. I really love this film. It was just such a touching story, an emotional story. And speaking of emotion, man, I got emotional watching it, bro. That's what kind of film we're talking about here. This brings us to Violent Night, which I'm gonna put that here at a B. You can see my review, put it out yesterday, so I won't dive too deep into it because you can check out the full thoughts there. But it's fun, man. David Harbour's great as Santa Claus. It's bloody, it's violent, it's a lot of great action sequences. There's a couple standout scenes. One being a Home Alone kind of montage, and one being a massacre at a barn. It's a fun, bloody, as you would anticipate from the same producers of John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Hobbs and Shaw, films like that. You know what to anticipate with them. So it's a really good film in that light. But there are some logical things that doesn't make that much sense, didn't really add up. Some of the other secondary supporting characters were not that great to me, but at the end of the day, you go to this film to have fun. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it, even though it has some shortcomings for me. But again, check out my full review on Violent Night. But David Harbour was great as Santa Claus. And listen, give me a prequel, and when you see the film, you know what I'm saying about giving me a prequel, because there's a backstory of Santa Claus that I would love to see more of. And then give me a sequel with maybe Mrs. Claus. And when you see the film, you know what I'm talking about. But yes, Violent Night's coming out tomorrow, I believe, and we'll talk about that when we get to new releases. But yeah, I gave it a B. With one more, which is After Sun. And this was, man, put this up there with the A-Class, A24, man, coming through yet again. This is a beautiful story about a father and a daughter going on a holiday together, and it's through the perspective of the daughter, who I believe was 9 or 10. And you know, as we know, as we were kids, used to see our parents at a certain light, right? You used to think of your parents, you know, some of our parents are our heroes, some of our parents maybe not so, and everything in between. But we have a perspective of our parents when we're younger, right? Then when you get older, imagine and being through your adult lens and eyes, you kind of look at them who they were as people. And it's a beautiful film. It's heartbreaking. It's also loving. It's just a great movie, man. And it's when you get to the last 20 minutes, it's just, man, it broke my heart, bro. But it's a really great film. Charlotte Wells, I believe it was her directorial debut. It was fantastic. Frankie, lady here, this is the perspective of through her eyes. She, one of the best young acting performances I've seen in a very long time. And then also her father, the guy that plays her father, Paul, he was great too, man. It's great acting, great cinematography, great score, and just so many great moments in this film. Like I said, man, get the tissue ready if you guys see this film. After Sun is fantastic. So that's the list. That is all 13 films that I saw. And then if I were to rank them again, you know, Marcel's on his own class right now. Can't recommend enough in his S tier. As far as my A goes, I would probably go Fabelmans, and I would probably go After Sun next. Ooh. Then Tar, then Pinocchio for my A tier. And then get into the B tier, I would probably go, I will go Inspection. I will go Bones and All, Wakanda Forever, and then Violent Night. And then for my C tier films, I would probably say out of those 3 films that I saw, I'll probably go Armageddon Time and Guardians, and then Enola Holmes. So that is the films I saw. That is how I would rank them. Do your boy a favor. Let me know in the live chat, those that are watching live, and of course, those watching the replay. How many movies did you see? What did you think about them? How would you rate them? Let me know in the comments below. And again, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys want to see the full length of this video, that'll be in the description of this video. We'll catch you guys later.